Well, this is Steve Ridgel, and sometimes people ask me, how can I look at everything in the world and think about Jesus and make a Jesus application out of it? Well, I'll tell you, same way you do. When you think about Jesus a lot, just everything starts to remind you. And when you start looking at things, just ask yourself, what does this remind me about Jesus? And so I'm going to illustrate that by talking about what's coming up this weekend. It's Easter weekend. And people sometimes say to me, okay, with all the stuff around Easter that's not really spiritual anymore, how do you think about Jesus? So I would like to say, well, it is all about church and Jesus. So at church, we'll preach on the resurrection and we'll do communion and we talk about we're going to do this till he comes back because we believe he was raised and he will come back. And so I could do those kind of things, but I'm going to talk about the commercial part of Easter and how even still sometimes that does remind me about Jesus things. Lots of new clothes show up on Easter. Guys wear ties sometimes. Lots of pretty dresses. All those are beautiful and wonderful, and you're like, yeah, and that's... You know what makes me think about Jesus? I think about how he makes us new and beautiful. He dresses us in, well, basically new spiritual clothes. I think that's the beauty of baptism. We go in covered in our sin and we come out born again, a new creation, beautiful before God, new life. And so I think I love that because it reminds me that I too still have a beautiful life because of Jesus. I like talking about rabbits and Easter bunnies, and you're going, oh, that's so much against the meaning of Easter. I know, but you know what reminds me when I see them? It reminds me that God made creation. God made nature. He created a wonderful world. We live out on a ranch, and I like sometimes just to watch the deer or watch the birds flying around or watch our cattle. Just the beauty of nature that God created. I love that. And so sometimes when I think about the Easter Bunny, I think about, boy, God, you did make a beautiful world. Even the hunting for Easter eggs. I think a lot about how God sought me out, hunted for me, how God sent his son into this world to die for me, how great that is. And I don't know about you, but when our kids were little and our grandkids were little and we hid eggs, I was one of those guys that a lot of times would count the eggs. Okay, there's 57 eggs out here. And if the kids came in, we counted them all, we had 55. We went and looked for the other two. Of course, you know what that reminds me of. That Jesus seeks the sheep that wanders away. Even if he's still got 99. If he had 100, he looks for the one. And so there are just lots of things about Easter that still remind me of Jesus, even though they're not things about Jesus anymore. But for those of us that are believers, well, frankly, almost anything we see reminds us of Jesus because our life is wrapped up in Jesus. So this is Steve Ridgel telling you, I hope this weekend you see some things that don't seem very Eastery that really are a whole lot about Jesus if you just think about it.